I'm Thomas, and you're listening to the Gracing Podcast, where today we are going to recap the Traka in a mega recap episode. We could also call it the Pass Racing, if you want, special edition, because we have 3 of the 4 winners of the Traka 200 and Traka 360 on here. That is, we have the Traka 200 winner Mads Würtz Schmidt on here. We have Karolina Migon and we have Tobias Kongstad. Obviously, all 3 of them at par racing. The one winner who is not on par is Sofia Vijafanye, who I didn't get a hold of. So sadly, we will not hear from her, but we will get into the races and hear a lot about the action that unfolded. Just a few notes before. So if you want to learn more about Mads Würtz Schmidt, Paul lately had him on an episode of the Outside podcast here on the same feed. So if you want to hear more about his journey into gravel, listen to that really cool episode as well. The intro is in German, but the main interview is all in English. So just skip to the interview. And then we will run the conversations one after another. First Mats, and then I had Caro and Tobias, the 2 360 winners, on here at the same time. We will get into their races. We talked about the impact that the Traka had in terms of media, or the victory of the Traka in terms of media, and a lot more topics. So hear it all in the interviews. If you want to support what we do here, we are stoked if you join our community. You can do so by signing up on Patreon. The link is in the show notes. We have a cool Discord server where you can, for instance, ask questions that you want us to bring to the show. We can talk. That is something we started at the beginning of the season, and we want to grow. So become a supporter on Patreon if you want to support our work here. And with that, let's jump into my conversation with Mads Würtz Schmidt first. Hi, Mads. Great to have you on.
Hello.
I'm super stoked to have this conversation and talk about your win at the Traka 200. But before we get into the story of your race and how it all unfolded, I would like to go a bit further back and talk about your decision to race the 200. Because one theme that we are exploring here in different podcasts, when I did the Gravel Earth Series preview with Maya, we talked about it, is what is the major race at the Traka? And there are different opinions. I think from the depth of the field, the 200 in the last years has been the main event. But then Classmark made an effort this year with giving more points to the 360 and also promoting it, live streaming it and not live streaming the 200 to established the 360. So for all the US listeners, it's 360 kilometers, and there is the 200 kilometer race, which Mats won. And they I don't know if fighting for the pole position, but there is both races matter, and that's different to many other of the big gravel races, like, for instance, Unbound, where it's clear there is only the 200, and that is where all the relevant pros race, and it's different at the Traka, which also confuses some people who are new to the Traka. And at some point, you made the decision to enter the 200, and I'd be curious to hear how you make this decision, or was it not even a question for you?
I was thinking about the 360, but when I made the decision, I had no idea about what gravel was, about the racing. I just got into it, and I had to make the decision back in December, I think. So it was like, I'm still keeping my hopes that there is a road contract in the future, and then I think the 200 is more suitable for that. I think the demands of the 2 races are different. Like, in my opinion, the 200 takes a more complete rider, because it's still long. Like, it's still 6 hours. Like,
yes,
like
it's more punchy.
Tour of Flanders is 6 hours, but the demands are greater in terms of VO2 max, how long can you sustain threshold, where 360 is, it's not like, it's more, um, how do you call it? It's not easy. Of
Attritional.
course, it's not easy, but you just have to be good at riding long.
Yeah.
It's not punchy. It's not.
Can you hold tempo for 8 of
Yeah,
almost 12 hours race time? Because it's
exactly.
almost, it's, I think this year the top finisher was 11:30 something.
Yeah, and this is what a guy like Tobias is very good at. But put him in the 200, I think it will look different. And then like it's a more competitive field in the 200. More top guys are doing the 200. So it is a difficult race. And again, the demands are quite high. Like the course is super technical, technical descents, steep climbs, and and then it's just long. Like as I said, it's still 6 hours of racing. So it's not that it's a small event. But I could also see that Fastmark are trying to promote the 360 as the big race. They call it the queen stage of the Traka, and like I feel like they want more guys to do the 360. But even though they try to promote it, like the depth of the field was bigger in the 200. And also with the
Yeah.
live streaming, I was told that the reason why they don't do live streaming on the 200 is because the speed is too high. So it's just not possible for them to go with the whole setup with the car and motorbikes and whatever to make the live streaming.
Okay,
So maybe
interesting.
that's the reason why it's not on YouTube. Because I think in terms of excitement and for the viewers, I think the 200 would be more interesting to show. But if it's not logistically possible for them, then they have to do it on the 360 instead.
I'm talking to a few people at Glassmark, and they are telling me that it's a discussion internally as well. And I think I changed my mind and I came around from my position. So last year, I thought it would be better just from like a narrative standpoint if the trucker would have one clear race. And like even as late as the preview that I wrote for this year's edition over on my The Gravel Stack newsletter, I was more or less advocating, I was very, very much in favor of the decisions Glassmark did. But then this year, when I watched the live stream of the 360 and then the race that you did, which is why it's so great to have you on to hear how the race unfolded, we know very little of what actually happened. And I think there are a few factors why the 200 became this main event in the eyes of racers. I think one is calendar position, because you also told me when we spoke before we went on the recording that you're going to do Unbound. And I think there are several guys and girls who don't want to do like a 12-hour race less than 1 month before they go to Unbound and have to do this other long and attritional race. So calendar position influences it. And as you say, like the 200 must be a pretty dynamic race compared to the 360. And so my stance now is more or less promote both. And it's maybe weird that you have two relevant races as a promoter and organizer, but just produce them and promote them and sell them, market them independently, because I think it's not going to change. Relevant folks are going to do the 200.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, when you look at the calendar, I think it's like what you said, that the 360, there's a risk that it's too big of a day when you have Unbound coming 4 weeks later. Which is also that when I got closer to this date, that I was, yeah, it was good that I picked the 200 because I have two races before Unbound, and I want to perform in all of them. And I think to do 360, it takes a big toll on you. Like you need probably a week of recovery, and maybe you're not coming around from it, and you have the world's biggest gravel race 4 weeks later. And in my case, I just don't have time to fuck myself so bad that I can't perform it at Unbound.
Yeah, makes total sense. And look, just yesterday I saw an Instagram story from Axel Dubois-Prévost, who obviously finished second at the 360. And she was posting something from her, I don't know, Wahoo, Garmin, whatever, and the recovery values were still not up there where you would like them to be. And she is in the Lifetime Grand Prix, so Unbound is a relevant target for her. So that will be an interesting thing to follow. How are people who actually competed in the 360 going to perform at Unbound? Because I think, look, there are people who just have great recovery and they can, like the Grand Tour contender type of physiologies, they recover super well. Probably it's no problem for them, but definitely for other racers, it's just too much.
Yeah, and I think that the 200 is also hard in itself. Like as I said, it's still 6 hours of racing, and it's punchy racing the whole race. Like I was close to 400 TSS. That is like Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Flanders. So it is very demanding, and it is a very hard race. But to go 360, like to go for 11, 12 hours, that there's a risk that it's too much, thinking about what is coming.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So I assume most of our listeners were able or did follow the Traka, and there was, as we said, the live stream for the 360, so people can be familiar with the 360 course. But how did the 200 differ from it? Was it just a shorter version of the course with all the main features? Can take us through it, like where there's selection points and so on, and then after that we can jump into your race.
Yeah, well, the start is different from the 360. The start of the 200 is like I put the race into 5 phases, and the first phase was 3 climbs right from the beginning. The first climb was about 15 minutes, second climb 7 to 8 minutes, and then one climb of 10, 11 minutes. So, and they had steep ramps, and like we know the Girona area, and some technical downhills as well. So the first phase was until the bottom of the last descent, which was around 40K. And then we have 60 kilometers like planned flat, before we get to the long climb, Els Metges, which comes in like it's 8 kilometers, then 2K downhill, then 2K uphill, which is 8%, and then a super technical, sketchy downhill before we have, I think it's 35 kilometers of flat, and then we have 2 punchy climbs. Like they're short, like 500, 700 meters, but like super steep. And then we have the last 15K until the final climb, which is 10K from the finish. And from the bottom of that, the descent, it's 7K to the finish.
And then in terms of surface type, I mean, at Glassmark, I think the policy is every race needs to be at least 75% gravel.
Yeah, I think we had 84% of gravel.
Yeah.
So quite a lot. And yeah, so I had the race in 5 different phases, where the first phase was these climbs, and to me the first climb, like we came from a big road to turn right into a super narrow road that would go uphill for 2K on road, and then we turn left into some gravel, quick descent, and then 9-minute climb. And for me, that right corner and the first climb was the key for the race that I wanted to be in position there. Because then,
before we get there, just let's go to the start line, because I'd be curious, what is your mindset at the start line? Is it, I'm going to win today? Because like, yeah, you're obviously relatively new to gravel, but a very successful cyclist anyway. So I could assume that your mindset is you have big ambitions for the day. You're not going to see how it plays out, or am I wrong?
No, I had one goal of the day and one thought, and that was to win. I've had some very good trainings. The Monaco race, I performed super well. and I had the confidence to say to myself, if I avoid bad luck, if I avoid punctures, then I have a great chance of winning this race, and that was what I was aiming for.
Okay. And so you talked just about like this first turn and pinch point on the course. And how did it go until then? Did everybody go full gas?
Yeah,
Like
it was a
VO2 from the start?
it was a pretty hard fight for position to get in there. It was a sprint until the corner. Uh, I managed to get around the corner in third position, so that was exactly what I wanted. Because then we go up the first climb, and I'm in control. Like I can be one of the guys who set the pace. Because I also believe when we're climbing on gravel, it doesn't matter if you sit on the wheel. The speed is so low, so there's not really any draft, and the surface, like, it's on gravel, so you still have to push. So I don't think drafting is such a big thing in gravel when climbing. So that's why I believe that. Why shouldn't I just take the front and do my pace? Because it's gonna hurt the others like it's gonna hurt me. Um, and then I will have good position for the downhills. I can stay in control. I can pick my own line. I don't get into any of the um, all the chunkier bits on the side of the tracks, and I can avoid all the stones. I can avoid punctures. So, like, I did an effort to be in front and be in control, and help myself to avoid the punctures that will, you know, kill the race. Like if you have a puncture, then it's almost over. Also, because the speed is so high in the 200, so then it's going to be difficult to come back. So that was super important for me to start the first climb and be in control and set my pace. Uh, and that's what I did on all the climbs in the beginning, and also the downhills. I wasn't afraid to take the front and set the pace.
So did the race break up super early then after the first climb? Was there like a lead group? Was there an early breakaway? I mean, if you were in the front, then I assume there was nobody ahead the way you told it so far.
Yeah, I think on the first climb there's a selection already, but maybe I think we are 20, 30 riders coming down to the second climb. On the second climb, Matt Beers, he came to the front and he pushed over the steep part of it. And when we got up to the top of the climb, I look back and we sit like 10 riders. Um, and then there's a group of 15, 20 riders chasing. They're not far back. And they get to us just as we start the downhill. And then I take the downhill first. It's it's a 4K downhill. And then we come down and we go straight into the next climb where me and Matt Beers, we sit on the front, and then towards the top of the climb, we have 700 meters, but with two ramps of like 15, 18%. So super, super steep. And then I set my pace over the top, and when it's that steep, you have to push. There's no easy way to get over it. So I do my pace, and it's pretty hard, but I still feel like I'm in control of my effort.
What gearing did you use?
So I have 48 on the front and 46 on the back. I thought I had 46 on the front until the day before.
Okay.
But anyway, it works out well for me.
You managed to get over the steep stuff.
Yeah. So when we turn right on the top of the climb, I look back and I have this Finnish guy, Jaakko Hanninen, also from the road. He's with me on the wheel, but then I can't see the rest of the group. So apparently
Tobias at this point was also already dropped.
Tobias?
No, Matt Beers.
Matt Beers. Yeah. Like me and Jaakko, we got away there, and I look back and I can't see the group. So then we have a plateau of 10K where I'm like, it's too early to just. So I take my time, eat a gel, get something to drink, and the group comes back. And then we are, I think, around 15 riders going together down to the flats. But then on the flats, nobody really wanted to pull, nobody wanted to push. Like there was no no collaboration in the work. So we were actually going pretty slow for a long time. And then I'd say after 20K, this a second group comes back to us, and
Mhm.
suddenly we are like 40 riders in the front. Um, and then some attacks starts flying, and I see a group go away, and I'm like, I don't want to miss it. Like, if this is the group that goes away, like I can't miss it. So I jump.
That's roughly at what kilometer?
I think it's at kilometer 80,
Okay.
90, something like this.
And who's in the group?
So in the group is two riders from SWAT Club. I haven't learned to pick them apart yet. And then
I think Jordi
Jasper,
was racing this one, right? And I at some point when I checked the timing splits live, he was in one of the top groups. Maybe it was him, Jordi Bouts, I think he's called.
maybe.
Yeah.
And then Jasper Okelon
Mhm.
and this German guy, Egger.
Mhm.
They were there. So I jump and I bridge across to them. And we have a nice gap. So I invest like in this. Like I feel like if we can go away, it's a good chance for me. Just
How
then
do you judge this on the road? Because you don't get official time splits, and maybe people on the sidelines somewhere in feed zones can tell you this. But how do you judge that you have a good gap?
we could still see the group behind.
Okay.
And I would say we had like 20 seconds. So I think it was that like where we need to keep going, because if they realize in the back that they can't close us, they will give up, and then their speed will drop, and we will get minutes, like a real gap. But yeah, I invested a lot in this. I spent a lot of energy, but I think my speed was maybe too high for the other guys, so they couldn't follow up on the speed that I set. And then the speed went up and down and up and down, and maybe it had the guys in the group a little bit pinned. So in the end, the group comes back. I think Matt Beers and the Red Bull guy from Portugal, they were the main guys to pull. Um, so they come back, and I'm like, oh shit! Now I just spend a lot of energy for this.
Like, given that that is your first proper gravel season, now at this point in the race there are different guys, but I assume you have with some names and some people you have some familiarity. But how do you judge your competition? Do you ahead of time, do you have already a few names and faces where you know, okay, I need to be mindful of those, or do you just watch and observe people on the day how they are riding? How do you know who's dangerous and who's not?
So the races I've been doing, like the UCI race I did in Belgium, I didn't really know. Like I knew a few guys from Santalal, like Okulan was there, Piotr Havik was there, and then Magnus, my teammate, and Tobias. But I don't really know anyone. So I'm just
I guess Matt Beers, you were aware that he's probably
yeah. So
dangerous.
and then for so in Belgium, I just did my race. I could at about halfway in the race, I saw a moment, and then I went. Um, and then in Monaco, the start list was shorter, but there were still some guys like Pustelberger and Simon Peo. Uh, but that course was super hard and up and down all the time. So I just did my pace from the beginning, and then I was solo for 100K. And coming to the Traka, I checked the start list, and I'm like, okay, there's Magnus, he will be good here, and Matt Beers. I knew I could recognize a lot of the names, but my main focus was on Matt Beers.
Yeah.
I saw him as the greatest rival of Traka.
And when it comes to Magnus, who obviously is also on par, did you talk ahead of the race? Did you have like a plan to support each other, or did you approach it just everybody's doing his own thing?
We didn't talk. We don't do tactics. We don't do team tactics. We have a rule of thumb in the team that's like we don't ride directly against each other,
Mhm.
but
You
we
you
also,
wouldn't bring back a move that you did, or vice versa.
yeah, exactly. But we also don't lead each other out. We are not domestics for each other. We all do our own race, but we we don't, fuck up the race for each other. Like,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we play it out. Um, so yeah. Anyway, back to the race. We got caught again just before the feed zone. Two guys go up the road, and we ride slowly in the peloton. We get to the feed zone, and I get what I need. And then, like, my plan from the beginning was the long climb on Els Mitches. That was where I was gonna put in my big effort. That's why I wanted a big selection. Um, so
How far is the peak of it from the finish in the 200?
the top is the climb starts after 119K. So the top is 73.
So.
Yeah, 73K from the finish.
And you have a few punchy climbs coming afterwards still.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I knew, I knew how, I know my shape. I know this climb is 20 minutes, 30 seconds to 21 minutes. If I'm good, like if I have good legs, if I can hold the power that I know I can, and if I have a good day. So I just set my pace from the bottom, like a threshold effort with some spikes, and very quickly I am away solo. Like a few kilometers up the climb, I look back and I see Filippo Conca from SWAT Club and Magnus. They are sitting like 70 meters behind me. And Magnus is on the wheel because I'm in the front, and then Conca, he's pulling, he's trying to catch me. I'm going like
proper hard.
Yeah, but I still it was a big thing for me to not let Conca catch me. Like I wanted him to stay in that stress of he's pushing with everything he's got, but he still can't catch me. I'm just right up there. But
you wanted to be the carrot on his stick, which
Yeah.
never can reach.
Yeah, so I wanted to be, in control and be like, I'm the master of this race, or how you would say.
Yeah.
Like I decide when you come back to me. And he's in that stress. He can see me all the time, and he wants to catch me, but he can't. And then we get to the top, and I take a drink and I take a gel, and then they come back. So then we are the three of us. Then we have 2 kilometer downhill.
And I assume you're happy at this point that you don't have to do a 70K solo.
Yeah,
but that you have some people to ride with.
Yeah. I wanted to be in a group. But then we start the downhill, and it's 2K fast, and I am faster than the others. So when we get to the bottom and we have this 2K climb at 8%, I have a gap of 5 to 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But then the story repeats itself. I go my pace super hard, and Conca, he can't catch me. So he's in that stress again where he can still, he's right there, but he can't close the gap until we get to the top, where over the top I wait again. And then we have this super dangerous downhill, technical, sketchy, and get to the flat part where I can kind of sense that we have a big gap on the rest of the peloton. We can't see them at any point, and we go fast. Like the work between us was good, so we work together, and I'm just waiting for the next steep climb that is at 25K to go. But it was a hard race because already after 3 hours of racing, the temperature was 27 degrees, and the gravel roads in Girona are so bumpy and rocky, so everybody dropped bottles,
mm-hmm.
and so dehydration was also a factor. And we got to the final feed station. There was only one assistance feed station. But the
Yeah.
last feed station, I make sign that okay, we stop to fill up our bottle because we only had one bottle left, all of us,
Okay.
and it was still 50k to go, and I only had mine was half full, and I knew I can't finish the race on half a bottle, so I need to stop and.
And how do you do your nutrition? Also in the bottles, or do you do mostly gels or have backup gels?
I do.
So is it just dehydration or also nutrition carbs that you're
No,
running
it's
low on?
also carbs in the bottle. So I was also down on carbs, but I bring extra gels always. So I stayed pretty close to my like plan for the nutrition, but I think overall I was a bit lower than what I wanted to. Um, so yeah, we stopped at the feed station to get that bottle filled up with water. And just as we exit the feed zone, Magnus, he drops that one bottle he had left. And it's
Oof.
45, 50k to go. So I felt sorry for him. He asked for a sip of my water, and I was like, yeah, you can have some, but I'm sorry, you can only have a little bit because I need it myself.
Yeah.
So he had a little sip, and then, but in the like on the top of the long climb, I took the one bottle I had left. I put it under my shirt to make sure I wouldn't drop it. Like it was
I mean, look, like when people come to gravel, they quickly realize that bottle cages are sneakily one of the most important pieces of equipment, which as a road racer, you don't care about bottle cages. Maybe nowadays about aero and can you put aero bottles in it or so, but in this way of not dropping bottles, it just matters so much more on gravel to the point that even I, as like a age group, not mid, but backpacker, I considered buying these super expensive Silka 90 euro bottle cages at some point. Then I was lucky that I found some good stuff where that I never dropped a bottle with these so far, even over bumpy stuff and stuff like at the hills that I did, which is like a Decathlon
yeah.
brand bottle cage, and they are very good. But yeah, it's a super important piece because once you drop your bottle, you can be done for. Your day can be over.
Yeah, like that. Then it's a slow death if you drop the
Yeah.
bottle. So yeah, I just bought new bottle cages for Traka, but they didn't work, and now I have a Rundle bottle cages waiting for me in USA. So hopefully they will do the job.
Yeah. Fingers
Um,
crossed.
yeah. So yeah, then from this feed station we have some kilometers of like low tracks next to the river, like fast tracks. It's still flat. And then we get closer to this climb at 25 kilometers to go. Filippo, his turns are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and suddenly Magnus is skipping his turns. He stays on the wheel, and I'm like, that's weird. Magnus, he always like he never skips a pull. Like he's always a gentleman in the race. He can take his turns. So we get to almost the bottom of this steep climb, and I asked Magnus, "Hey, what is up?" And he's like, "I'm done. I can't." Like he's finished. Then I asked him, "So you think I can drop this guy on the climb?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think you can." So we get to the climb, and it's these 500 meters, 12%. And immediately from the bottom, I set my pace. But I think I go over the climb at 6 watts per kilo. Um, but I was having to manage cramps in both my hamstrings at this point because I was so dehydrated and I never had cramps before. So I'm trying to attack while managing a cramp. But
Wow.
luckily, Filippo, he was suffering more than I was. So I did ride away from him on that climb. I get over the top and I look back and I can see I have maybe 10 seconds on him. Downhill, I go down the downhill super fast, super aggressive into the next climb. And then I go with everything I have on the next climb as well, but still having to manage this cramp. So I have to find like a controlled pedal stroke where I still go like high power, but if I did one pedal stroke like super hard to get over a small rock or something, then I would start to
Feel it
feel my
right
my
away.
hamstring. Yeah. Um, Then on top of this climb, we have a little bit of road where I have a view of 300 meters back. I go around a curve and I look back 300 meters and he's not there. So I'm like, yeah, now like, and this was the plan from the beginning, to make the big selection on the steep, like on the long climb, and then on these two steep climbs, that's where I wanted to be alone. Like that's where I wanted to set my, like, do my final attack. Um, and then just go away. Like I can't see him anywhere on the course, and get into the last climb at 10K to go, which is super steep, super technical climb in the bottom. And then you get to a more like normal gravel climb, where it's still just steep, and I think the climb is 8 minutes or something like that. So it's a pretty demanding climb in the end. Um, and we I had a feeling that I had a big gap, but I didn't know. So, and I was lucky because on the gravel climb there was a guy cheering for me, like, "Go on, come on." And then I passed him and I asked him, "Do you see anyone behind me?" And he had a pretty good view. And he said, "There's nothing, there's nothing." And then I've continued up the climb, but he's still shouting to me, like, still nothing through the woods. Like he can't
Ooh,
see me, but
that's valuable information at this
yeah.
point. Helps you to moderate your effort, no?
And as far as I can hear him, he's saying still nothing. So I know I have a big gap. I know I'm going to win this. So now it's just about, don't fuck it up. So I take the downhill, which is super technical at the bottom. And actually, it's the kind of downhill where you would rather have a full suspension mountain bike.
Yeah.
So I take it super careful because I
The
don't want.
question is just, do you believe these folks, right? Not that it's a
Yeah,
funky
yeah.
speaker.
Yeah. Well, I believe him. He seemed genuine, and
Yeah.
that he supported me. So that was nice. Um, so yeah, from there I ride with no risk. I knew I had the win, so I just rode to the finish, and could enjoy the last bit.
And I mean, once you are away, I don't know how you changed your training in the last years, but I mean, from your history, you are a very good time trialist. So I assume you know how to manage such an effort, and catching you won't be easy for the others.
Yeah. But still, at this point in the race, like everybody is over their limit. Because we've been going so hard already in the beginning. The first hour, my normalized power was 380 watts.
Wow.
And it's just been punchy, over threshold. So in the end, on the flats, I could not push more than 320, 340. So I was just exhausted in the end. Like I was completely done.
Yeah.
So to get to the top of the last climb and to know that, okay, the others are so far behind me, so I can actually just ride risk free and get to safely to the bottom and safely to the finish. That was quite nice.
Yeah, you didn't like, you are also doing, I assume, the last single track segment into Girona, and there you don't have to full send it and take like big risks.
Yeah, exactly. Like we came in, had to cross the river, and then the single track to the finish. And yeah, I went faster there than I did in training, but I could still, go around the corners without, risking a crash or something stupid.
So did you, and at what point did you think about how to do the celebration?
I only started to think about it when I entered the finishing area.
The last corner there,
Yeah. But then again, I was so tired, so my mind was pretty empty at that point. So
Yeah.
I just, put my hands in the air and I was like, oh, it's done. I did it. And I'm just, now I can relax. I can hug my girlfriend and we can celebrate together. I could see, Carlos, the co-owner of Panama, and Yannick, our PR communications, whatever his job title is, they were waiting for me with champagne, and I was just relieved that all the hard work, it finally paid off. And I really, really enjoyed those moments after the finish where all the people I care about, they were around, and we could celebrate together.
Nice. So you have big palmares on the road, obviously, and a lot of experience on the road. And now you entered this entire gravel thing. As I stated in the intro, people who want to know more about your entire journey, listen to the episode that Paul did on the Outside podcast with you, because you go into all the details. But now a few more races that you are in gravel, obviously very successfully so, with I think you won 3 pretty important races, including this as clearly the most important victory of your gravel career so far. What are some of the differences that you see that even surprised you between gravel and road racing? We mentioned the importance of bottle cages, but maybe you have a few others.
I, you know, I see how important it is to have, to have your shit together. Like, you need to come prepared, because you are on your own. Like, your bike needs to be good, because you don't want any bad luck. You don't have a car behind you to help you if with anything, but you're also your own mechanic most of the time. Um, you're also your own soigneur. You have to prepare your bottles yourself. You're your own nutritionist because you don't have anyone to help you out with a nutrition plan.
Yeah.
Like, all the support we had on the road in a World Tour team, that is on you now. And if you want to succeed in gravel, you need to work as hard as a World Tour pro. This is what I'm doing, and I've had success because I work just as professional and as hard as I did before. But now it's without all the support from the team. Like, I have to do everything myself. I have support from my girlfriend, and I have logistics support from Pass. But when it comes down to performance, I'm on my own. And that's the biggest difference, that I need to take care of everything on my own and be 100% prepared when I go into a race. What are the demands in this race? What do I need to focus on? Uh, Tire pressure. How do I want to do the race? There's no sports director to give you a tactic. Like, everything you have in a World Tour team, now it's on yourself.
Yeah.
And so far, I enjoy this transition, and enjoy to be my own boss. And it's been pretty fruitful so far. So I believe I do something right. But yeah, it is, the difference is huge. You don't have that backup.
Yeah. Essentially, you go from being a corporate employee to being a freelancer, and doing a lot of different things all on your own. And yeah, there are pros and cons to this, I assume, as with everything in life. And what I find very interesting, when you told the story about the race's finale, you said that you had to deal with cramps in both of your hamstrings, and that's the first time you had to deal with cramps, but you did so much road racing. Do you also see that, like, from a physiological standpoint, there are differences? Like, for instance, of course, core work is probably more important because you do so much off-road stuff and everything is working. And anything there that you found surprising?
Yeah, I do more upper body strength work. The first race I did in Santaval, after the first stage, my triceps were killing me.
Yeah.
Like, my arms were just shaking, and it felt like I had lactate in my arms, which I never experienced before, even though I did Roubaix a few times. But there was nothing compared to it, and I never felt like muscle pain in my arms before, because I'm, yeah, a cyclist. So that made me realize, okay, I need to work a little bit on my arms. Since my back injury over through 21, 22, and 23, I've been doing a lot of core work. So my core is pretty strong. My back is still a little bit fragile, but at least it's strong enough to. My problem was herniated discs, and but now my back is strong enough to hold the discs in place. So, but I still get a sore back. From this kind of racing. I think everybody does. No matter how much
Yeah, yeah.
core training you do, you will feel your back. But I do feel more fatigue on my upper body, and I think that's also why these races maybe take 1 day or two extra to recover from, because it's the whole body that's like getting hurt. And it was the same after Roubaix. I would have 2 days where I felt hungover and I hadn't even had any alcohol. And it's the same after these races. I need 2 to 3 days before I feel normal again. I can still ride the bike, but before starting to train, I'd rather do one more extra day of recovery, because it's a full body workout to do these kind of races. So yeah, that's also a difference.
In your like personal ranking of your achievements. I mean, if we look at your palmarès, you're a multiple time trial world champion in like the juniors and U23. Of course, you had your world tour career, but where does this Traka win rank for you?
Um, like when you
Your Danish
just
national champion, also probably important to mention on the road.
yeah, like the Danish championships in the elite is the biggest thing I won on a bike. That's for sure. And then the world championships I won in Tirreno, and I had a lot of good results. I don't want to compare the races against each other. Uh,
It's hard to compare them actually.
yeah, but because but gravel is like Traka is a big thing in gravel, and it's by far my biggest win in gravel. And I'm super proud of that victory. To me personally, this victory means a lot, and actually means like it's one of the more important wins for me personally, because the work I put in to be good here, the whole process, I was working hard for this for 2 months. And I've done that before. Like over the last few years, I've had these periods where I really dive into the work and get my top shape, like top shape, only to end out with a disappointment on the road.
Mhm.
So I know I can reach my level, but over the last years, it didn't pay off. It ended with a disappointment. And this time I did it again. I found like I reached a new level in my physique, and it paid off. Like I put the trophy on my shelf after all of this hard work. And that is what makes me more happy than the win in itself. It's just that finally it paid off. Like all the hard work, all the sacrifice, everything that I've done over the last months, it paid off. Like I won this race that I set out to win. And that is like, that was the biggest relief of it all. And it was the same for my girlfriend. Like we sacrificed so much to be here and to be good here and win this race. And
Yeah, it's like there's this saying, trust the process. And I can assume that like after you did the process a few times and ended up disappointed, it becomes harder to trust it. And this now gives you a lot more confidence into your process. And
yeah,
I assume it's also a different process because now you control it all yourself. Whereas back in your World Tour days, as you alluded to, there were a lot more like stakeholders, people influencing how you prepared.
yeah, and also like suddenly you get thrown into a race that you never had planned to do, and that you know
Yeah.
fucks up the
Sometimes it can
the
work
whole
out, as we
process.
just saw at Roman D, where like I forgot the guy's name actually.
Yeah,
He got the
well,
call up a day before and won
yeah,
the thing, but
I
usually it doesn't work.
I think this
As
is
is with your
also
training.
yeah, I think this is also the main reason why I found a new level in my physique. Like I took a step in my development, and I'm better now than I've ever been before. I think it's because the preparation can be so controlled and the training can be so specific that, and I don't have anything to interrupt it. Like
Yeah,
I'm just doing the work, see how I progress, and then we get to race day, and I perform like Traka 200 was the best performance of my entire career. Um, and I think it's because okay, I have a new coach, and he's super good. Like the training that he makes is different from what I've done before, and that have upped my level. But that together with less race days, more focus on the training, has given me a boost.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you raised, which recently, I think it was a cycling YouTube guy, Jesse Coyle. I think it was him. He talked about exactly this, how like the people in gravel, it's so different because you can train for much more targeted for certain events, whereas on the road you have race days, so many more race days, and sometimes if you're not like on the POC level, you cannot even choose your calendar and just pick highlights, but you get thrown into these, and it's just very different from a training and physiological standpoint. What is possible in gravel?
Mm. And also the training now is so like there's so much science behind the training and the new methods that you don't need a lot of races to be good in a certain race. Like you can come from training and be ready
I
to
assume it's
race.
the other way around. I think you get to a higher level if you can do focused training and have less race days.
Exactly.
Like
Like we
unless
see
you
with
pick exactly
Vanderpool.
the races that are like a training thing that you
Yeah.
specifically pick as a training, then
Yeah.
world tour you can probably never get to these high peaks because you're not training that much.
Yeah. Like you see for the big guys on the world tour, they have a planned program and they're gonna stick with it. But the rest of us, we are always in that limbo where okay, we try to prepare for one thing in the future, but then oh, you need to come and do this race in Bretagne, or you need to come and do this race in Italy, and that's just the way the world tour is for all the little guys.
Yeah.
But you see the big guys, they have their program, and then they come prepared for every race, and they are good. And I think this is what I experience now in the gravel, that I pick my own schedule, and then I pick races where I know I have time in between to be 100% when I come to this next race.
So the reception of your win from a media standpoint, how does it compare to other main achievements in the back? Was it like a big reaction already from the media side?
Yeah, I've been doing media every day since the win,
Mhm.
actually, and of course, it's quite a few more podcasts, gravel podcasts like you. But I also did an interview with the biggest sports channel in Denmark, and the activity on Instagram have been huge, and it moved some stuff for me. I also have some exciting sponsorships coming in, and so it definitely did something for me. Like it is a big win, and it helps me to better equipment and more opportunities for the rest of the year. So it definitely helped me a lot.
Do you there also feel a difference to your world tour days? I mean, I assume like a national championship in Denmark is also especially nationally big, but there is also you're more shielded from the media. There are PR people on the team, and they will tell you who to talk to and who not to talk to, and so on. But now you have to do, I assume, more of this also on your own,
Yeah, like
and it's an important part of the job now.
it is like I told spoke with Paul about. It is you are your own again, like you also your own PR manager. Like you have to make people aware of you. Like you have to create some stuff on social media to stay like you have to brand yourself. And it is important in this world because we all want to live from this professionally and find some income to be able to do this 100%. And so this is also a big thing to have focus on. And yeah, you gotta, what's it called now? Like you have to take the opportunity to make aware of yourself whenever you can. And that's what I'm doing now after the race, like post some extra photos and stuff like that from the race, and keep staying active to
Yeah.
with some to hopefully attract some brands.
Yeah, and I think, look, your results so far. When I did my preview, I also picked different riders in different tiers, and I put you and Matt Beers as my top favorites for the 200. So yeah, you I think your profile is growing, especially in Europe. And let's see how you do in Unbound. I mean, as you talked about it yourself in the beginning, it's a very different race, physiologically very different. So I don't know if you come in with the same mindset or if you go to Unbound more with a let's see how it goes mindset. Um,
No, I go to Unbound to win.
okay.
Like the goal is to avoid bad luck as much as possible, and if I manage that, then
Yeah.
I'm sure that I'm racing for the win. But 320k is a long distance to avoid the punctures and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
So
as you saw with, for instance, Rosa Klöser's win last year, you can come back because it's such a long race and so demanding. So it's
yeah,
not over until it's over. But yeah, obviously, avoiding it in the first place definitely a good choice. Everybody loves talking tires. Do you know what tires you're going to run there already? Can you fit mountain bike tires?
yeah, I can fit mountain bike tires, but I'm not going to use mountain bike tires.
Okay. In
I'm just going to use my 45 millimeter Pathfinders.
Wow. Okay.
I
I mean,
use them in.
I've never been there. The people who are regulars there, they tell me that might be a mistake because it's so chunky there. But you go there early enough to recon it yourself as well, no?
Yeah, but Girona is also pretty chunky and pretty rough, and I also used 45 millimeter Pathfinders here. And knock on wood, I haven't had a puncture around Girona yet, and I ride pretty aggressive. So I
Right.
think I'm not going to change winning formula.
You could if you would win it indeed on 45s, you could lead the comeback of the gravel tire
Yeah,
in like the
but
public
there's
opinion.
also there's also a thing about these mountain bike tires because fair enough, when the speed is low, it's exactly the same. But when we go 40k an hour, a tire that is super wide compared to a little bit more narrow tire, like the first thing that hits the wind on a bike is the tire.
Yeah, sure.
So the wider the tire, the less aerodynamic you're going to be. And if we are riding for 10 hours, aerodynamic also plays in. And in the end, because the more aerodynamic you are, the lighter you are, the more kJ you save, the less energy you spend. And then you will have more energy in the end, where it really matters that you have something in your legs. So
Yeah, that is definitely the case. I mean, there is more and more testing being done and more data coming out. There was lately some stuff done by Dylan Johnson. I don't know if you heard about him. He's like one of the contenders, but also YouTubers from the Lifetime Grand Prix, and he took various tires to the Silverstone wind tunnel, and they also have like a rolling resistance testing rig. They don't have like a proper gravel surface, but they have like a cobblestone type of surface where and then you can test in the wind tunnel and the rolling resistance as well. And in his testing, which look, you can look into everything, and on these surfaces, like the aerodynamic penalty of mountain bike tires on especially on like one of the wider rims was, I think, we talk about 10 15 watts, but the rolling resistance benefit was in the 70 watts category. That is some of the testing there. So there are two things to look at, but in the end you need to find the solution that works for you and also that you can trust in. That I think is also very important, right?
yeah, well, I've won my races now with the Pathfinder, and
Yeah.
I'm very happy with that tire. So I don't see why I should change.
Yeah,
My bike is fast enough.
indeed, it looks like it. So to end things here, are there any tidbits, little observations you made during the race about the course, some of the competitors that you found interesting yourself?
In the Traka,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I'd say the first thing that surprised me was on the second climb where Matt Beers he did a big pull on the steep part. he was going fast. Like that's where I saw him as my biggest rival before the race, and that just confirmed it. Like he can push that big boy. He went super fast over that climb. I was like, ooh, I need to take care of him. Like pay attention to him for the rest of the race. So I knew he was good, but that he could push. Like I was on his wheel doing 7.5 watts per kilo,
Wow.
and he's maybe 12 kilos heavier than me. So he's got some big power, which will be,
Yeah.
it's good to see, good to feel it on myself before Unbound, because that's a race that will suit him a lot more without so much climbing.
Yeah.
So
And
then
he's climbing super well. To your point, this year I observed the same thing. And there is this new YouTube format from Keegan and Alexei Vermeulen. They call it the Cool Down. And after the Levi's Grand Fondo, they actually had Matt Beers over, and a little nugget that he dropped in there. They asked him about his 20-minute power, and I think it was 520 watts.
yeah, yeah, he's a
Decent.
strong boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he is.
yeah.
Cool. Hey, Mats, is there anything else that you want people to know? Where can people find you if they want to follow your journey?
Yeah, just hook me up on Instagram. My Instagram handle is my full name, so that's pretty easy. And then all I want to say is thanks for having me on the podcast.
It was my pleasure. And of course, we will put it in the show notes as well, so the listeners can just click on it and follow you from there. Have a great day.
Thank you, and you too.
So I'm joined by Karolina Migon and Tobias Kongstad, the two winners of the Traka 360, and also both racers, riders for the PAR racing team, also very often referred to as PARS racing. I don't know, maybe you have something to say about the pronunciation for everybody who listens to get it right in the future.
Yeah,
But
I think as it's pass is from France and you don't announce the S, it should be pas racing, but I think we actually call it pass racing for some weird reason.
to just accept the way everybody in the English speaking world pronounces it as fact. Make it easy on them. Yeah. But if you want to do it well, it's PAR. My wife is French, so she would tell me that it's certainly not pronounced the S. All right. So great to have the two of you on. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to digest. The arguably biggest European gravel race happened. You both obviously won it. And what is really great from my position as a fan, I could actually see a lot of it. And I assume many of our listeners will have also watched the live stream that the good folks from Glassmark / the Trucker put together for us to watch. But we will get into the parts of the races that we didn't see, which there are some parts that we didn't get to see indeed that are also relevant. And we will talk a lot about your days and your victories. Caro, let's start with you. Obviously, you line up on the day as the defending champion. And I'm curious, what is your mindset? Does it create more stress for you, less stress? I assume you had to do more media probably than last year and so on. But what is your attitude at the start line? Are you super relaxed because you already won it, nothing to prove, or are you under more pressure?
Definitely, it was a way more pressure on my shoulders compared to last year. Last year, I was not known at all, and this year, like everyone was staring at me at the start, and also before. Of course, a lot of interviews, a lot of media things to do before the race, so I could feel the pressure. I've tried to relax and just be comfortable and not to take it too much into the racing itself. So in the end, because we stayed a bit away from Girona, I could relax and just take it aside and focus on the things that are important during the race and not on all the stuff around it. But yeah, for sure, it was a way more pressure. I was a way more stressed, but also it was Not only because I defended the title, but also because it was the biggest goal of the season for me, that I set as a race. So mostly I also put pressure on myself. And I prepared a lot. And then before the race, when you cannot train much, you're just stressing about everything else.
And to both of you, just give us an idea. Like now, it's not just a Traka; it's Traka Week that is happening there. All your sponsors and partners, I assume, are there. Everybody wants you to do media and shooting there. Probably some presence at a booth or so. Was it like super busy also off the bike, or did you find a way to keep that to a minimum?
I think I can talk from the past racing side that we really try to say to the partners of the team that this week is a holy week for us. We don't want to do any photo shoots the day before this race. With that said, we got the opportunity to partner up with Ionity, which I could imagine a lot of the German listeners might know as a new partner of Past Racing, which of course also means that we need to take a few photos with them to launch this partnership. But this was on Monday, and the racing was Friday and Saturday. So we really try to, from the team's perspective, to say, hey, let the riders be free, focus them on racing. And I think we did a talk in Velodrome, one of our good retailers, but otherwise we don't have any long media sessions because we can do that in the winter after this race because this is a big key race for us.
From the team side. But just it's a little bit of an aside, but also interesting. I believe that the setup at PA is still that everybody can have their own partners in certain categories. Right?
Yes.
So everybody has their own bike partner, so everybody also has a few individual sponsors.
Yeah, so the rider on the past racing, they can have their own bikes, wheels, tires, and maybe if you have a few sponsors outside the sport. But as you see, we are all riding in the same helmets from Superstation, of course, Panama clothing, Energy from Ministry, Salomon bags, and so on. Now I might forget some, but the visual look, the overall look is the same for all of the riders. But the bike,
it's a hybrid approach. It's not like full privateer, and it's also not like a road racing team where everything comes from the team. Okay,
exactly.
And so your mindset on the start line, Tobias, because the way we will do it, we will take the races a bit in segments and talk through it. But you're lining up. Do you have a clear goal? Are you saying, I'm going to win today?
No, I know I did second in Traka 2 years ago at my first World Race. Then I did fifth last year after a little bit of unfortunate puncture. So I knew I can do well, but looking in the peloton, all of my competitors has my biggest and deeply respect. So you need to have a lot of respect. And then I just took the race as it comes. Of course, everyone, I think, on the start line dreams of winning, but there's also a long way from dreaming to be able to pull it off.
And the two of you obviously are veterans of the Traka 360, and something that is a bit of a public discussion going on is what is the main event. And I had Maya from Classmark on a while ago, and Classmark, they took a stance that they want the 360 as the main event. They live stream it, they don't live stream the 200, and they give out more points for the overall series classement. Not that much. I think the 200 still gets the 10% bonus points, and the 360 the 20% bonus points. So yeah, and I wrote about it on the newsletter as well. Like, I think I came around. They probably don't even need a major event or one main event because they have two very good races with deep fields. But my impression was that this year the field did get deeper. The 200 still had a very deep field on both the men's and women's side, but I feel like the competition level in the 360 was higher than in the last years. Would you sign that?
Fully agree.
Yeah, same on the women's side. And also, yeah, as you said, media coverage. It's also a lot for sponsors. So it should be a main event, but I also understand why some people choose 200.
And I think it's super, super cool actually to have two major events looking at for sponsors and for the riders that there's so many opportunities to get good results. In, for example, Unbound, I think there's no discussion that the 200 milers is the key event, but there's only one winner. Here we can actually get, there's two winners in each
4 winners.
gender. Yeah, but for Unbound and for Traka, there's 4 winners in total and 40 people who can be top 10, which I only think benefit because more exposure. And still, when you look at the field, that all the 4 fields is super, super deep, in my opinion. There's no easy wins or easy top 5s just because it's split up in different distances.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think also something that we will see more of in gravel racing is almost you will have to have a specialization in your training between these ultra long races like this one or like an Unbound 200, which just physiologically is something very different from. I mean the 200. I just talked to Mads before. It's still a long race with 6 hours. It's not quite the UCI 4.5 hour race, which then again is. Again, very different there. You need to have pretty, like VO2 max training will be very important there. And I assume if you go into the 360, it's different qualities that you emphasize in your training for this. But it means with having these 2 different races, we also get a lot of excitement to, in their own right, very hard and challenging races, which also suit different riders with different priorities, maybe, right? So I came around. I think they need to promote and market both races at the same time. But I already had this conversation with Mads, so for the listeners, we don't need to have it fully a second time. But all that is to say, so you're lining up against probably the strongest competition you lined up against in the 360 in the last years, and then the races unfold. And actually, the live stream starts at 10 a.m. and we didn't get any proper pictures from what happened before this, which actually is the first around 4 hours. On the men's start, I believe, was at 5:50. Who started first, actually? The men 5:50, right? And then the women at 6. And what happened during the time that we couldn't watch it in the women's race? Because when we come on, it's already a pretty elite group at the front. Did that form by an attack? Were there a lot of attacks? Was it more attritional and just the strongest women set their pace and the others dropped step by step? How did it go?
So it was completely different than last year when we rode with the guys. We started pretty easy, and there was still a big group after the first climb. And on the flat, it all merges. Also, the guys from the age grouper, they just caught us, and it was a big mix. So I think 2 hours were really easy, which then helped a bit to save the energy for the rest of the day. But first 4 hours, it was a big, I think you can even see it on some YouTube recaps of the race, that then when the guys from the age group caught us, it started to be a bit of a mess. And then it also was technical section. There was a motor, and then it blocked some people behind. And I think we were like a big, strong group at the front. And it was before another climb, pretty rough technical one, and that's where we split basically. We set really high pace on the climb, and I think we left 6 probably. But also we took, me and Axel took a wrong turn at the top. Then G went first on the descent. We had to chase it, but then we rode together on the flat, and that was the group.
Because what is the course marking like at the Traka? There is very minimal course marking, right?
There is almost no marking. So we took a couple of times wrong turn because at some points though you had either like few paths or there was like some different weird crossing to get to the river, etc. So I think a lot of people took the wrong turns, though we had the navigation. Sometimes it just doesn't help. Maybe it would be nice to have minimal marking on some key points that are confusing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But in the end, I think this didn't play a big role in the end result.
Yeah, you came back from your wrong turn, and
Yeah.
as did you, Tobias. You also, but much later on the day, you took a wrong turn. It's part of the game, I assume. And so, how was the start on the men's side? Was it also, did you start slowly, or was there some full on racing from the get go?
Yeah, I think the first 2 hours was a little bit more chill this year. Last year we had some riders, and I think they forgot a little bit that it was a 360-kilometer race. But if it's your first time, you also just push for it because you start with a road climb, which if you are my weight, it's a little bit hard. If the smaller guys is in a climber mode. But so it was a little bit more chill this year, and then I think there got quite a lot of breakaways. I actually don't know how many which got in the breakaway, but there was a lot of people in front of us, and we didn't get in any times. But I think when it's 360 kilometers, you shouldn't stress that a breakaway get 5 minutes because at a certain point people will get tired out there. But I would say I was also trying my best to get in the breakaway because I have good experience with that. But they didn't want to let me go, unfortunately. So there was some other strong riders going in the breakaway until the feed zone.
Let's take a little step back at this point, because so it's let's say a 12-hour race. It's a bit more on the women's side, a bit less on the men's side. But how do you approach it? Because I don't think it is like in ultras where you say, okay, I have a pacing plan, and I have this wattage that I target in the flats and this on the hills. You can't do it because the racing, especially nowadays, maybe you could do this 5 years ago, but nowadays it's much more competitive and it is proper racing. There are groups staying together for a long time. I mean, Caro, basically it was still a group of 3 almost in the finale. On the women's side, Toby, we will come to your endeavor, which there was no big group for a long time. But still, how do you come in there? Do you have like an idea of, okay, I want to average this, that should be my normalized power, or do you more approach it like I want to be in the front? These are points where I plan to attack. What is the plan, the approach? Probably Caro, you can go first.
So from my side, it really depends on the field, and because of the women's start, my idea was just to follow the front group and just stay in the front. I was not trying to set the pace, at least not on the flats. I think on the flats, everyone tries to save the energy, and then we push quite hard on the climbs, where everything just spreads.
And do you have some like marked riders, like people I wouldn't let them go away if they would do an early attack?
Yes, of course. There are some people that you don't want them to be alone in the front or in the breakaway, and there are some people like you just don't want to chase because they will just get tired, and you know that you'll get to them at some point during the race.
Yeah. And Tobias, how about you?
Yeah, I'm must admit I'm pretty diesel engine, so I actually just push everything I have when needed. My limit on how hard I can push in pedals is a little bit lower than some of my competitors. So when I go really deep on a climb, it's actually not that deep compared to some of the other ones. So I just go as deep as possible every time there's a climb because I want to be with the front guys and try my best to survive because I know even though I go deep 10 times, I still have a little bit of power left in the end. So I just push as hard as possible when needed. Sounds stupid, but it's pretty simple.
Yeah, makes sense. So when we get on the live stream on the women's race. We have this group. It contains yourself. It contains Axel, Sarah Sturm. It has at this point Louise Valentin still on there, who later flats, but I think she had a very good day as well. At least not one of the names that I would have expected or had high on my list. And then she had a pretty good race, shout out. And you also had G in the group. And very briefly after the live stream starts, I think like 1 hour in or so, she has a crash. And it was like in the women's race, one of the main talking points during and after the race, the crash that G had. And I found it interesting, the dynamic you had, and maybe you can talk a bit about it, how it unfolded at this point. So she was off the bike for a second, sat down. As we later learned after the fact, she had a broken elbow during the day. There was some speculation. So that was really, really badass, because I think she continued riding 135 kilometers over rough terrain with a broken elbow, as it turns out. That is, badass indeed. But there are some scenes, like at the aid station, for instance, where it seemed all of you at this point, I believe 4, you were stopping together. Nobody attacked there. Was it like a considered thing that you all decided, okay, we will give her the time to whatever see the doctor, or didn't that occur in the group?
So the crash. We can start from the beginning. So we broke away, 3 of us on the climb, me, Axel, and Sarah, and Luisa and G left behind. So they tried to chase on the descent, and they crashed. Pretty nasty. It seems so. But G managed to bridge the group. I think later on Luisa, we were not pushing that hard on the front on the flats. But then G complained about her arm, and I was still surprised that she was descending super fast in the descent. So I was just like, "Wow, is it?" I couldn't even believe it, because she was like still going really, really confident. So we really thought that it's not that serious, and she also didn't stop on was it the next fit zone? No, I think it was, she didn't stop. She was just like thinking about it, but then she worked pretty hard to towards the Traka. So I also understand it. Just you don't want to admit that you should stop. And I think it was still nice to have her on the flats. It's always better to have a bigger group on the flat and work together. And then, she stopped at this. Yeah, that was second fit zone before the big climb. We even didn't know that she stopped, because then at the top, I think then Sarah told us that she decided to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel super sorry for her, and I hope that she'll recover soon. But it was also convenient for us to be free for the podium spots, and it was really nice to work with the girls. I think you could see at the end when we line up 3 in one line before, I think in the last 3Ks, and we just started to talk. A lot of people asking what we said, and we were just like congratulating each other for a nice day on the bike and like good ride. And then we also like super super amazed that we are free, and like we didn't know if it will go to the sprint finish or what.
Yeah.
So that was that.
We will get to the finale in a bit, Tobias. So there is the middle point, let's call it, of the race, and of course there were some early breakaways where, for instance, Jan Stöckli, who then also finishes the race second, he was in one of the very early breakaways actually, but I did look in the tracking app again to see what actually happened, because we never see your attack on the screen, or when you get away, we don't see it. We hear about it before the live stream goes into a lunch break. And at kilometer 226, that is where we had one of these timing points, you're still in a group of 12. leading the race. And then we have a next time check at 270 kilometers, at which point you are solo and have more than 4 minutes. And what we learned, because we heard it during the broadcast, for a little bit you had Ingvar Omarsson with you, allegedly. That's what they mention on the stream, at least, if that is correct. So how long was it, two of you? And tell us about the attack. I heard you in some interviews say, yeah, I wanted to make it hard before the climbs, and then they have to chase me, but it's with 100, I don't know, 30, 150K to go or something like this, that you get away. And I have to believe that it was like an anticipation move in your mind and not like the winning attack, or was it?
No. For sure, I didn't thought about the win, but when I attacked, but yeah, we hit the flat, and this year I survived the climbs, so I was pretty satisfied with myself. And then we started. I think we were 15, around 15 riders after hitting the 100 kilometers of flat roads, and of course all the smaller guys, they wanted us to start working together, and everyone should be pulling and stuff like that. And then I could see, it's not on me to pull all those guys on the flat part. So there was a moment of slightly crosswind. Then I just took a stronger pull than I will probably have done, and then I got the gap, and then I was like, okay, Tobias, now you just push a little bit harder, but nothing crazy. And I think this was after 200 kilometers, and then I was out there for, I think, 10 kilometers alone, but I could see the group was almost just behind me, and I was like, what the fuck, Tobias, are you doing? There's headwind, and you're sitting out here alone playing Superman. But luckily I got the company of this strong Icelandic guy, Ingvar Omarsson, which I think we were together for 20, 30 kilometers, and then he did some very strong pulls. And I think you don't know how your legs will react when you go such long distances. So I think he started to feel his stomach, he said to me afterwards, and his legs. And then, I think after 250 Ks, it was up to me to go. My goal was just to hit the climb after 275 with a few minutes in advance to all the climber guys, because then it will maybe make sure they will be in the final, so they could court me at the top. But I didn't get any times. I got a time of 270 by my feet, some guys, and then they was actually just lying. They told me afterwards because they was yelling, you have 4 minutes. Then I was like, okay, cool. Then I believed them, but I didn't. Then they told me afterwards, no, we had no idea. They were just yelling something because I think the tracker system is not always working as good as it, as we think. So I pushed on and hope for the best.
And as we will find out, you end up not seeing anyone again for the rest of the day. It was a bit different on the women's side because, after the point she was out, you were coming as a group of 3 towards the finale, and of course the single track where it all unfolded. And I think at this point we will also have to talk about the situation with the men in the race that happened. That was a talking point afterwards. And I actually tried to dissect it in my newsletter in detail because I think it's really important. Because for one, so just before you get into the single track, there is a group of men taking over your lead group. And I think that is something that we need to find a way to stop this in races, especially now that I think it's decided that we want you to have your own women's race, not like it used to be in the old gravel days with the men together. But if we want it separate, then we also cannot have like age group men, I assume these were age groupers taking over just before the decisive part of the race. That's a no-go. And you also said it started pretty way earlier in the race that you had interference. Did you at least have the takeaway that the men were like respectful of your race until that point, or were there other instances that we just didn't see?
Most of them, they were respectful. Even when we rode on the flat in the group, they were like, of course, they were on our wheels, but we could easily take turns. So that was okay, but of course not ideal. Also, it's a bit annoying when you have a bunch of guys on your wheel. But I mean, let's be honest, we are used to it. Normally, we would just start riding with the guys. So already having a separate race and not drafting rule, it's already a big step forward. And it is what it is. The guys are on the course. We cannot do much about it. I think for most of the races, it's the key point right now. Also, it was kind of same at the hills when you caught the guys in front of us. That was where it started to be messy, and it was same kind of here. But to be honest, when we entered the single track and the river, I didn't even think about the guys. I just had in my mind that I want to be first there, like no matter what's like whether there are guys, no, like whatever.
Yeah.
So it was still in my mind to be first there, and just I push really hard to turn right to the river.
Was it like did you plan to like full send the single track?
Yes. So
because that was my takeaway when I looked at all the footage, because like there were some comments that Sarah and Axel made that they mentioned essentially you did not really attack, and you also like in your finish line interviews that it was not fully an attack, and I think it was not an attack in the sense that you did drop the big watts, but you just fully send it there. And I made the effort to look at all the frames from the footage that we had, and I saw two men when we see you entering the single track. Indeed, the two are caught out behind one guy, but he moves to the side, and then maybe before the first water hole, not the river crossing but the water hole, you have like probably 4 seconds by my counting of a gap, which is pretty much closed by the end of the river crossing. They are on your wheel, and then there is another guy, and we see him pushing his bike, then we don't see him until Sarah and Axel go by him, at which point he's standing to the side. So I assume you had to, like, he jumped back on his bike after pushing his bike, you came by, you shouted at him maybe that he should move out of the way or something, so he probably stopped your momentum, and then they go by. And afterwards we don't see any other men from the camera on the e-bike or motor behind the two of them. But we lose track of you very quickly. You're gone. So my assumption is, unless there is a 5-second gap or so when they show on the screen the other two chasers, so Danny Shrewsbury and Heather Jackson. But to me, it seems like you just went and you knew how to go super fast.
Yes. So as I said, I did the recon the day before, and I knew that it will be the key point to avoid the sprint finish during the race. To be honest, I thought that I already had a gap in the river because I knew that the girls would struggle a bit there. But yeah, then I also watched your recap, and then I was like, okay, I didn't have a big advantage there. But then when I entered the single track, I just started to push really hard, take the corners with a bit of risk. Also, I mean, I had to shout a lot for the guys, like everywhere. But I think, at least for me, I don't know what the girls did, but they were just like getting out of the way most of the time. Of course, I had to like stop pushing for a while, but when they moved out of the way, I could push again. So I would say, of course, it would be nice to have an empty single track, but it's also a race for everyone, and you cannot do much about it. So I was shouting really, really loud and pushing a lot of power. And then I looked behind only when I finished the single track section. And then I saw that the girls are not there anymore, and I can just continue pushing and try to hold the gap and deliver it to the finish line.
Yeah, which you did indeed. I mean, to me, there are probably some solutions, and I can tell you from being on the other side. For instance, at the Hills, I talked when I had Morgan Aguirre on here. We talked briefly about it because I was caught by the lead women just before you entered a little single track section, and I knew it was coming, and I really didn't want to get caught in a single track because it's scary. I don't want to be an obstacle in the women's race as a age grouper in one of these races. So that is creating stress for everybody. And
I agree.
I don't know if it is like a solution, like you really have like big tall guys on a bike or moto ahead of the race to move everybody out of the way.
I think that
the
would
rule
be
that
super
enforces
cool.
this because that is I think that would be feasible and just make people go out of the way in these technical sections. And that was early on at the Hills where my story happened. But I would have hated it so much to be one of the guys in your finale. So
yeah, but also with the motorbikes, sometimes on the technical section, they even like were slower than we were.
Yeah.
So you would have to put the motorbike really ahead of us and not just just in front. But that would be a good solution. I think everyone would be happy. Yeah, also for the age groupers, I think it's not nice to be passed by with a lot of stress from us and then from them as well.
Yeah, I mean it's also not easy for the organizers, and everybody is trying to make the racing quote unquote fairer and more giving the own race to the women. But yeah, there are still issues to be solved for sure. So Tobias, back to you. I think like your finale with the 100 started with 100K to go. You saw nobody anymore. You took a wrong turn. When did it occur to you that you may indeed be winning this race? When did you believe it?
Yeah, our team house was located almost on the last climb. So after the downhill, our teammates were standing on the side of the road, and then I could quickly yell to them, guys, guys, how many minutes?" And they'd be like, "Tobias, calm the f down. You have like 5 or 6 minutes to next group." And I was like, "Whoa!" But because that was the first time I had a time since the last feed zone which was after 217, where I had 3 minutes to 3 people. The feed zone people told me, so I was like, okay, they was probably coming, but then with 1K to go, actually, the motorbike was like, "Hey man, you won, eh?" so that was pretty nice to have.
I mean, yeah, I can only imagine. But even when you hear like you have a 5-minute gap, you know that so much can happen. I mean, a flat, and then you need to. I think Paul in the year when he won the 200, he had to run the last bit, so things can happen. So you're, I think, never at ease until the finish is in sight.
No, I actually thought a little bit about Paul, those videos and the photos where he was carrying the bike. I was like, okay, if I have 4 or 5 minutes now, I can probably walk the last K. So fair enough. If something happens now, I can still win, and it will still look pretty awesome.
Yeah, the things that go through your mind. In a situation like this, I mean, what I have to do is really I have to apologize to you, because when I made my picks for the race ahead of time, I didn't have you on my list, and I of course know you had good results there, but also other people did. I mean, you were on the long list, but you didn't make the short list there. So, but it's a climby race, and then after the fact and you won, then I realized in sports very often you have these trendsetters, these people who something that is theoretically possible but nobody did it before does it. And I was wondering, and we'll be watching out, will like taller guys in races with the climbs start doing these super long range attacks? I mean, it became in road racing, it's now commonplace to have like the 50, 60, 70K solo attack. And I mean, in the old gravel days, we saw long solo rides, but just because some people were just on a different level than the rest. But now that the field is so much together, it changes, but probably you just showed a blueprint to a certain type of rider to win these races, which is not being afraid to go with 130K to go, 150K to go. Or do you think that will remain the exception?
Yeah, there's hope for all riders out there, which is closer to 80 than 70 or 60 kilos now. But I think, I think also Simon, our team colleague, which was third, I think he's also closer to 80 than 70 kilos. And I think last year he crashed and was probably would have become third last year also, and he was also third this year. He's also doing a super good job, and I think when the races is this long, and Traka, if you look at the altitude meters per kilometer, it's not that bad. For example, the 200 kilometers has more altitude meters per kilometer, so because it's pretty stretched out. So if a rider like me can survive the climbs, which is after 150, then I can make a little bit damage to the other riders when we hit the long mountain after 275. And I think when it's this long, because I could see on Strava at the times afterwards, because I was super nervous that they will catch me on the long climb, but I was actually doing the same time on the long climb, which I think is around 6 minutes for us and a little less for the tuner riders. But as riders like Mattia, Dimaki, Peter Stettner, which is a super good climbers. Yeah, but I think when the race is this long, I think all rules is no rules apply. You can also see there's a guys like Matthew Pierce. He's also a beast. He also has the watts to do it, but he's also, I think, above 80 and becoming second in Traka 200. So I think nothing is impossible, but you just need to make sure that you do take the race at the course in your advance.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's like an interesting distance because it's not quite ultra where like everybody just does their own thing and it's usual to go solo, but it's and it's certainly different from like 150 200 kilometer races, but it's not quite that. So interesting racing, and yeah, we can be so happy that it was actually live streamed and we could watch it. I really hope we will have more of this in gravel racing. And to be honest, like 11-hour bike race live streams can be boring if you watch like Tour de France live streams, if it's not the best mountain stages, but some of the sprint stages, even for 5 hours can be boring. But I have the feeling that it can be a cool spectator sport. And we are starting to see it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I had a lot of messages from my friends, family and colleagues, and also like random people that they were watching it during the work. And they had good entertainment. They were so stressful when we were just free. So I think it's a good show for the spectators, for sure.
Yeah. So talking a bit about more general topics, if I'm not mistaken, both of you actually still have a day job besides your riding, which I find impressive. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we see in US gravel, there is a lot of talk about people doing these 30, 40-hour training weeks now. What are like the longest training weeks that you have done in preparation for the Traka?
So I've done some 30-hour weeks, I think 1 or 2. And I still balance it with work. Just to say, I'm just taking 5 months of sabbatical at work, starting from May. So I still work before the Traka.
Okay. So you didn't take holidays for the 30-hour training week, but you work full time?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was mostly a whole preparation before the Traka. It was just training and working, and I didn't have any like social life or anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Right now I'm back home, and it just feels weird that I don't have work anymore. So it's super nice. But yeah, I think me and Tobias are exceptions in the peloton. That we are on a super high level, and we try to balance it with work.
I think actually it's super healthy to maybe not work full time. That's I'm also from the 1st of March, so 2 months ago, I got the opportunity to balance full time work here in Panama with half work and half cycling in my office hours, which I'm super proud of and honored. And I think, of course, as Karolina, she did 30 hours, and I think it's a pretty quick math to say that 30 hours of cycling, 37 hours or 40 hours, because she works in the IT business, and which is pretty tough. That's then you not have a lot of hours to watch Netflix. But with that said, I think it is healthy to have something to keep the brain activated. And I was just talking with one of my other friends, who is also a pro cyclist and also has a business on the side yesterday, and we was talking about this, like, because I used to only cycle many years ago when I was a pro continental rider on the road, and the only thing we woke up was training ourselves to death, and then we went to sleep or watch Netflix, and all our mind was on the efforts we should do today. Where now I still do the same efforts. I've probably never been better, because when I'm out riding, I'm like, now Tobias, you're out doing this, full focus on this. You're not so worried about the efforts you do. 40-20 effort will never be fun. But back in the days, maybe you could be scared for days because you saw in the training program that there will be a 40-20 effort tomorrow or 2 days in advance. But now you can be like standing there, oh shit, now it's time to 40-20s, but you're not so freaked out. And coming after Traka or other races where you go to the office, of course, I'm lucky that I work in Panama office, so of course the mood has been high here, and we've been celebrating Caro and Masses and Siemens podiums also, wins here at the office with a lot of cake. But as Caro also mentioned, it's also nice for her to come back to office and maybe keep the mind a little bit activated, because in end of the day, gravel is nice, but you can also become a little bit. There's a lot of cycling going on in your mind, and if you're not 100%, if you only think about cycling 24 hours, you can also be a little bit crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, also I just had a longer discussion with a few people actually about where gravel is headed. And I personally think we are in a pretty decisive time currently, and it's definitely now much harder for riders to secure sponsorship and so on than it was like 3-4 years ago, just because there are so many more racers coming in there. Then we know the bike industry is also in a crisis, so it's not as easy. And the biggest hype where all the races were sold out right away is also over. And I think, and I really hope that gravel will establish itself as a sustainable sport that we will have for a long time. And I think it has the potential. I'm super bullish on the potential, but I also believe there is now decisions that are being made in the next 1 or 2 years will shape how the future looks like. And if you're fully reliant on this, then maybe you have to stress a lot about stuff, even besides your riding, that is then where your full existence, or at least financial existence, relies on, and that can be stressful. So in some sense, having this fallback can probably, it's harder to find the time and the hours for training, but then also you can be a bit more relaxed because you have this second thing. And in the end, you're still very good on the bike, as you won the Traka 360, the both of you. But it's impressive feat and a great story to tell.
I can't agree more that you have a safe income, because bike sponsors or sponsors generally, they come and go. Then they are very reliable for results. And I think as we look at the gravel sport, it's a difficult moment, because I think all riders are almost only dependent on the bike industry and partners within the industry. So if I was a rider and we really tried this at Pass Racing to get actually partners outside the industry, because I think all of us knows that the industry is not at the best moment this year's. Hopefully, it will get better. Or it will get better. But if you want a safe income and safe sponsors year after year, I think it's really important to look outside the industry. But it's also super hard to get sponsors outside the industry when you have. I think we have one race this year, maybe 2 years, which is a live television broadcasters, Traka and Unbound. Maybe there's also some more in the US later this year, but then it's a small YouTube channel, and maybe your mom, she can find it if she really tries to Google it and stuff like that. So I think it is a hard, difficult moment for everyone, but I think, yeah, if you try your best and provide something special for the sponsors, and not only race-related photos, and do some good storytelling, nothing is impossible. And I think
It's funny you mentioned this, because that is something in a project I can't talk too much about, but it's exactly the same approach to see how can we get non-endemic, as they say, sponsors into gravel. And I think like there are good gravel, aesthetically speaking, it fits in our time, probably more than road racing, to be honest, right? Because it's like everybody wants to go back to nature, outdoors, the adventure thing in gravel. So I think it can be attractive to brands outside of cycling. And yeah, that is, I think, one of the key steps to make the sport sustainable. I think there are others. Actually, I wrote a pretty lengthy piece on the Escape Collective lately, and one probably Tobias, because you are also, of course, involved in the team management. Correct me if I'm wrong, but something that I stated in there is that I'm in favor of having more teams in the sport. I also think we know the mistakes in road racing, where like the teams are so reliant on sponsors. So ideally, one of the organizers, like Gravel Earth series or whoever, would turn it, in my mind at least, into a like US type of league system, where the teams become shareholders, and then the media. I mean, I don't think we will see broadcasters pay big amounts for gravel live racing. That is not the case. But all the digital footprint of gravel that grew organically so far, if somebody would come along and just centralize the promotion of this, that could be really interesting. But we are digressing here. But yeah, decisive times, and the two of you decided to have a fallback, and that is interesting to me to see that this model is possible at this high level. But now, after you won, it's roughly a week ago. Was it Friday? Friday, right? Yeah. So as we are speaking, 1 week ago, you won. What happened since then? Like, how much media sponsor interest was there? How big is the Traka really? Caro.
It is big. I've got a lot of messages. Yeah. A lot of media stuff that I had to look at, and still ongoing. I think it's super nice. Also, it's eco not only in Europe but also in US. Of course, all the good feedback from the sponsors, but also, yeah, a lot of invitation to the podcast, etc. A big, yeah, I think it's a big media exposure for sure. So we'll see in the long term how it goes, because of course it's freshly after the race that you get a lot of attention, and we'll see how we'll manage to keep it high. But I think the Traka, it's the biggest European race that you get a lot of attention.
But it's interesting, Caro, as you mentioned, also US media. You have the direct comparison because you won last year and this year. Are you under the impression that there is more specifically US interest in the Traka this year than last year? Because
yes,
I feel like it too.
Yes, you could even see it in the field. There were way more American riders. And before the race, even, I've got a lot of messages to share like my bike equipment, etc., and do the interviews from US media. So for sure, there's a bigger interest than it was last year.
By the way, people need to look at the paint job on your bike because it was
Yes.
an incredible paint job. I'm jealous, officially
Yeah.
jealous.
Yeah, thank you. It was really nice. It's also a really nice story because there's a local man doing the paint job here in Lausanne. So it was a really nice offer, and then it was their project. So I'm super happy that we managed to do it before the Traka. I think it was really good timing. And of course, I love the job. I think it's the most beautiful bike in the peloton.
Be honest. Did you look at and did you care about the weight, the added weight that the paint job created, or not at all?
I didn't ask. I didn't ask. The frame itself is already light, so an extra paint, it's okay. And I think it adds extra power when you look at the bike during the race.
Nice. Tobias, how about your aftermath? What was the most the media thing that you were most excited about doing, if anything? Maybe nothing excites you in that realm, but
No, I think it's nice to see international cycling papers such as one of the big ones, Cycling News. I think I did a long interview with them after the finish line, where remember 2 years ago when I did the Traka and I was second, and I was coming home to Denmark and I was like, oh shit, that's a good result, but none of my friends, nobody knew Traka, and they was like, so you did a race in Spain, and I think if you are at Traka, you'll probably be like, whoa, this is the biggest one because there's so many people, there's so many media and stuff like that. But when you then leave the Traka bubble, you actually find out sometimes that there's other things going on in the world than Traka. But I think it was nice to see international big media such as Cycling News actually taking this up and making new long articles about it. And I think for a Danish perspective, we have the biggest Danish news covering it, with a big article. And I did me and Mads, because we're both from Denmark, did an interview with them. So when I was leaving my apartment yesterday, my upper neighbor, he was like, "Oh shit, I read an article about you yesterday. How cool!" And I was like,
nice.
Just when I was going to fall a little bit down after 6 days after the victory, I was a little bit more calm. But then my upper neighbor come, "Oh, I read this article about you." I was like, "Oh." Then my confidence was high again.
Nice, lovely. How like a quick aside, but in Denmark, how big is cycling? There in general, I think to Jonas, it's quite relevant, but it's not as relevant as football, right?
I think it's becoming pretty big. There's so many cyclists. Of course, football will in most countries be the biggest one. But I think for us, Pass Racing being a Danish team, we've really tried to push on to make it to one of the bigger websites, because of course it's nice to get coverage of those smaller cycling newspapers, websites. But if you really want some nice sponsors and exposure, it's about coming on Cycling News. It's about getting on Rouleur, those big ones, which we know people have respect for, and they cover only the big ones. So I think, and now we also got on the Danish cycling, the news, one of the biggest one in Denmark. So I think that was a big step for us.
Cool, lovely. Anything that the two of you want to share from the races? Any kind of observations about the race, the course, or your competition that you found interesting?
I think with the race being bigger and bigger, I really love the course, and I'm a huge fan of Chris and Gerard. Gerard, he's an energy bomb. His English is maybe not the best, but you still manage to talk with him, and he has his language and love language, I think I would call it, is just so nice. He's just energy bomb. But I think we also should start looking a little bit into the safety when you cross roads out there. It's always difficult because as the race gets bigger, there's quite a lot of on stake. If you win it, you will probably be safe for new sponsors next year as a good bonus or stuff like that. So you take risk. And I think I was the first one in the 360 crossing those roads for 160 kilometers, and I didn't get I didn't hit a car or something. But sometimes when you cross a bigger road and be the first one, it can be a little bit dangerous because I was just screaming 100 meters in advance, I'm coming! And then I hope these security people, they will try to make it that job, but it's also a 360 kilometer loop. There's a lot of safety going on, but it's just worth mentioning if we could start looking a little bit into the safety, because the course is the course, the downhills, I think that's just a part of it, but I don't think it's a part of being run down by a car. And I think, unfortunately, it will happen at a certain moment because we are so many riders, participants at Traka, I think 5,000. So it's only a matter of time before there would be a big incident. So I really hope that we can do something, because I also have my deepest respect for Klasmark, because the 360K, it's a big loop. I just hope that maybe in the future we can start looking into that.
Yeah, and I think this will come and has to come. Caro.
Yeah, I think Gerard, he really puts all his heart into the Traka. I think 2 days or 3 days before the event, he woke up at 5 and he did a whole 360 loop with his e-bike. Oh. So he checked everything, and then I think the people who did the recon before, we could see that there were some river crossing that were cut off the course. When it comes to safety and also the really separate women race, or at least securing making sure that we were able to pass, and also the route is safe. It's a lot of work because it's 360 kilometers route. It's not a loop, a couple of loops. It's just the whole course, which is super interesting. And I understand that it's super hard and we have to be really careful during the race. I think in the women's field, we really stopped everywhere where we should, and there was no dangerous situation. But I know it can happen, especially if the race goes crazy and the level is going super high, then for sure it will be more and more dangerous. So this is something that the organizers can look into, but I think the level is going, the organization is in a super high level. The media coverage, it's really good. So I think it's for sure the best event in Europe.
Nice. So what are the next things on your both calendars? Let's end on this note. Where will people see you racing, Caro?
So similar as Tobias, I'm going to US next. I will start with Gravel Locos in Texas and then do Unbound. And then I stay in US for a trip in California with my husband with the van. I will do another Gravel Earth series in Northern California, Lost and Found. And I will finish my US escapade in Steamboat.
Nice. Sounds like a good calendar. And Tobias, you're also going to the US. Unbound is on your list.
Yeah, I will head to US in 2 days, Monday, to get 3 very nice weeks in the States. I will start with a race called Rule of 3, which is a little bit, I think it's a little bit more chill race, but a race is a race. And then we could do Gravel Locos, Unbound, and then, I will see. Last year, after my third place, podium place in Unbound, I was just burning through, and I never got good legs again after that the entire season. So I will see. There's also a very nice UCI race in Denmark 2 weeks after, but we take it as it comes. But 3 big races in US first, and of course the grandmother of them all, Unbound. We need to show the team colors again.
Yeah. But I think Pa should be really happy already. I mean, I wrote somewhere in my newsletter that I think after this Traka, you have the check mark for good investment in 2025 secured.
I think the atmosphere here in the office hasn't been the worst this week. But yeah, of course, it's also worth mentioning that Traka is Panamal is one of the main sponsors. And we have our CEOs, the founders, the board, so many colleagues at Traka, which also makes it super special for me to be able to deliver something back to them, because I do some weird things here at the office, do some heat training in our shared locker room, so it smells like sweat down there the entire winter. So all my colleagues, they have been compromised a lot of things for me, but it's just nice to deliver back. And of course, we are super happy for now, past racing, and of course, but everyone is hungry for more.
Sure.
And I think we have shown that we are able to deliver big results. Last year, we got a second and a third place at Unbound, so we will see if it who will take it, or if it should be Caro or some of the other women, which is delivering. She had a lot of bad luck last year at Unbound, so maybe this is her year.
No pressure. Yeah, definitely. Good luck to both of you for your US trip, and was great that you took the time out of your busy schedule to have this chat. It's much appreciated, and hopefully we can talk soon. Let the people know where they can find you on the interwebs if they want to follow your journey.
So for me, it's Instagram. It's Karolina Migon, and also there is a link to my Strava profile.
I think it's the same here. Tobias Kongstad. I'm not the biggest influencer, but that's how it is.
Lovely. We will put it in the show notes so you can click on it. Thanks a lot, and have a great day to the both of you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.